Hi, welcome to this Corbettmaths video. In this video, we're going to look at the video solutions to the Corbettmaths Practice Questions on reciprocal graphs. If you need any extra help on reciprocal graphs, you should go to the videos and worksheets section of the website and scroll down to video number 346. There's a dedicated video tutorial there on reciprocal graphs. Alternatively, you can scan this QR code. But in this video, we're going to focus on the video solutions to the practice questions, so let's get started. Okay, question number 1. So question number 1a says complete the table of values for y equals 4 over x. So we've got our x and y table, and we've got x values of 0.5, 1, 2, 4, 8, and 10. That's a non-calculator question, so we're going to need to be able to work these out without using a calculator. So to find the y value, we need to divide 4 by the x value. So for instance, if x is equal to 4 here, 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1. So that means that y will be equal to 1. If x is equal to 2, 4 divided by 2 will be equal to 2, so y will be equal to 2. If x is equal to 1, 4 divided by 1 will be equal to 4. If x was equal to 0.5, that's saying how many 0.5s go into 4? Well, that would be 8, because you would have 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4. So how many 0.5s go into 4? The answer would be 8. Or just remember, whenever you divide something by a half, you actually double it. So 4 divided by half would be 8. Okay, 4 divided by x, 4 divided by 8. 4 divided by 8 would be equal to 4 divided by 8 will be equal to 0.5, or you could simplify the fraction. 4 over 8, if you cancel it down, is equal to 1/2, so that's 0.5. And finally 10. 4 divided by 10 is 0.4. So we've completed the table of values for y equals 4 over x. Now if we scroll down, the question says, on the grid, draw the graph of y equals 4 over x. So we need to plot the coordinates 0.58. So let's do that. So 0.58. So 0.5 would be in the middle here. 8 would be up there. So that's 0.58 there. Then we've got 1, 4. So 1 across 4 up will be there. Then next we've got 2, 2. So 2 across 2 up will be there. Then it was 4, 1. Then it was 8 and 0.5. And 10 and 0.4. And in terms of 0.4, we're going up in 0.2s here. 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1. So 0.4 would be 2 little boxes up. So like so. So we've plotted all of the points there. We've plotted all 6 points. Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Fantastic. Now we just need to draw a nice smooth curve through them. Now this is on the computer, so it's going to be quite tricky. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to come down and I'm going to go through the points the best as I can. So like so. And that's it. So that's the best that I can do. That's my curve for y equals 4 over x, the graph of y equals 4 over x. And as you can see here, the curve, it approaches the x-axis but never reaches it, and approaches the y-axis and never reaches it. So the curve looks something like that. So that's the graph of y equals 4 over x. And that's it. So that's all we've been asked to do, is to draw that graph. So we've completed the table and we've drawn the graph of y equals 4 over x. Okay, let's look at question number 2. Okay, so question number 2 is similar. It's a calculator question this time, so that's quite nice. So you can do the divisions on your calculator. And we've got our table of values and we've been asked to complete it. So 5 divided by x, so 5 divided by 0.5 is equal to 10. 5 divided by 1 is equal to 5. 5 divided by 2 is equal to 2.5. 5 divided by 4 is equal to 1.25. 5 divided by 8 is equal to 0.625. And 5 divided by 10 is equal to 0.5. So we've completed our table of values. Now we need to plot these. So 0.5, 10. So 0.5 would be in the middle here between 0 and 1. And 10 would be up here at the top. So that's that point. Next was 1, 5. So 1 across and 5 up would be there. Then 2, 2.5. So 2 across, 2.5 up would be there. Next was 4, 1.25. So 4's there, 1's there. Now we're going up in 0.2s here, so 1.2 would be there. 0.125 would be just above there, so there. Then next was 8 and 0.625. So 8 and 0.625, so 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.625 would be just above there. And then finally 10 was equal to 0.5, so that's in the middle there between 0 and 1. Okay, so we've plotted the points now, we just need to draw a curve through them. So get your pencil and draw a nice curve through those points. And that's it. That's my curve, and that's the best I can do on the computer there. I find it quite tricky to do it on the computer. I actually find it a little bit easier on paper, and sometimes it is tricky to do those curves. And that's it. So we've drawn the graph of y equals 5 over x for values of x between 0.5 and 10, and it looks something like that. And again, you notice it approaches the x-axis and approaches the y-axis, but never reaches either of them. Okay, so let's have a look at our next question, question number 3. So question number 3 says, complete the table of values for y equals 2 over x. So here we've got our xy table, and we've got the values of x, such as -5, -2, -1, -0.5, 0.5, 1, 2, and 5. Okay, so it's a calculator question, so we just need to do 2 divided by each of these values. So 2 divided by 5 is 0.4. 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. 2 divided by 1 is equal to 2. 2 divided by 0.5 would be equal to 4. 2 divided by negative 0.5 is equal to negative 4. 2 divided by negative 1 is equal to negative 2. 2 divided by negative 2 is equal to negative 1. And finally, 2 divided by negative 5 is equal to negative 0.4. So we've completed our table of values, and now we've been asked to draw the graph on the grid below. So let's do that. So let's plot these. So -5, negative 0.4. So -5 would be here. Negative 0.4, well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 being 1. So there, each of those is 0.2. So that's going to be -5's here, so negative 0.2. Negative 0.4 would be there. Okay, next, that's the first point plotted. -2, -1. So -2's there, -1, so there. Next, we've then got -1, -2. So -1's here, -2's down there. So next is negative 0.5 and negative 4. So negative 0.5 will be there, negative 4 will be down there somewhere. And then that's those points, and that's all the ones on the left hand side of the graph, so all the ones that are negative values for x. So now we've got those points plotted, let's plot the positive ones. So 0.5 was equal to 4. Whenever x is equal to 1, that's equal to 2. Whenever x was equal to 2, y was equal to 1. So we've plotted that one, and that one. And finally, whenever x is equal to 5, y is equal to 0.4. So 5 and 0.4 would be there. So we've plotted our points. Now let's do a nice curve through them. So a nice curve would look something like this. And that's it. So that's the graph of y equals 2 over x. And we've plotted our points, and I've done the best curve that I can through those points, and it would look something like that. And as you can see, for positive values of x, the graph's up here. It approaches the x-axis and y-axis, but never reaches them. So remember, they're asymptotes, it never reaches those. And then for values of x that are negative, so this left-hand side of the graph, it's down here, and it looks like that. And that's it. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 4. So question number 4, we've got these set of axes, this x-axis and y-axis, and we've been asked to sketch the graph of y equals 1 over x. So we've just been asked to sketch it. So thinking back to our last question, this is the graph of 2 over x. It looks like that. So the graph will look something like this, and it's just a sketch, so it'll just have that shape. It's just important we get that shape. So that's the right-hand side of the graph for positive values of x, and then for negative values of x, it would look like that. Because remember, if we do 1 divided by a positive number, we get a positive, and if we do 1 divided by a negative, we get a negative answer. So the graph would look like that, and that's the shape of the graph. That's the reciprocal graph, the 1 over x graph. Okay, our next question, question number 5. So question number 5 says, circle the coordinates of the point that lies on the graph of y equals 6 over x. So we've got y equals 6 over x, so we just need to figure out which of these points lies on this graph. So just remember, each of these points has an x coordinate and a y coordinate, x coordinate and a y coordinate, an x coordinate and a y coordinate, and an x coordinate and a y coordinate. So let's substitute in the values for x and see if we get the right value for y. So if x is equal to 6, so if x is equal to 6, we would have 6 divided by 6, and that's equal to 1, not 0. And actually that point wouldn't actually lie on this graph because it's on the x-axis, and this graph, the x-axis is an asymptote. It doesn't actually reach the x-axis, so it's not that point. If x was equal to -1, you'd have 6 divided by -1. That's equal to -6, not 6. So that point wouldn't lie in that graph either. And actually thinking about it, this point would be, it'd be on the left-hand side of the y-axis. So that means the graph should actually be down there. It should be a negative value for y, not a positive value for y. This point here, whenever x is equal to 6, so if x is equal to 6, you have 6 divided by 6, that's equal to 1. So that one works. That one actually does lie on this graph, the graph of y equals 6 over x. So that point, I'm going to circle it. And then this one here, if x is equal to 0, you'd have 6 divided by 0. That's, we can actually work that out. That's a math error if you do it in your calculator. So here, if we think about it, if x is equal to 0, that'll be on the y-axis, and this graph doesn't actually reach the y-axis. So that's it. So it's not that one either. So that's the point that lies on the graph of y equals 6 over x. It'll be 6, 1. And that's it. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 6. So question number 6 says, circle the coordinates of the point that does not lie on the graph of y equals 8 over x. So one of these points does not lie in this graph, and we just need to figure out which one it is. Remember, we've got our x coordinate and our y coordinate, our x coordinate and our y coordinate, our x coordinate and our y coordinate, and our x coordinate and our y coordinate. So let's start off with this one. If x is equal to 8, you'd have 8 divided by 8, that's equal to 1. So yeah, that one lies on the graph. Now we're looking for the one that does not lie on the graph. Okay, if x is equal to -2, you'd have 8 divided by -2. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, so that'd be -4. So that's actually, that one doesn't lie on the graph. Negative 2, 4 would not lie in this graph. Let's just check and make sure these two do. So 8 divided by negative 4 is negative 2, so that one lies on the graph. And this one, 0.5, 8 divided by a half, how many halves go into 8? That'll be 16, so that one lies on the graph as well. So we've been asked to circle the coordinates to the point that does not lie on the graph, so it's this one, negative 2, 4, and that's it. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 7. So question number 7 says the time taken by a car to complete a journey is given by the formula t equals 80 over s. So t is equal to 80 divided by s. So that's a reciprocal graph. You've got t equals a number over another variable, s. And we've been told that s is the speed of the car, so s is the speed of the car, and t is the time taken to complete the journey in hours. So then we've got our graph. And the question says, on the graph, draw the graph of t equals 80 over s for values of s that are bigger than or equal to 20, but less than or equal to 100. So let's do a little, I was going to say xy table, a little st table. So it looks something like this, s and t. And our values of s, we need to go from 20 to 100. Now, if we look at the axes, we want to go from 20 to 100. So I'm going to go 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So there's 5 points, and let's work out what these would be. Okay, so we've got our values for s. Let's work out the values for t. So t is equal to 80 divided by s. So if s is equal to 20, we've got 80 divided by 20, and that's equal to 4. So t would be equal to 4. If s was equal to 40, we'd have 80 divided by 40. That's equal to 2. If s is equal to 60, you'd have 80 divided by 60. And I'm actually just going to use the Bell-Shelton method here. We've got 80 divided by 60. So I'm just going to put a decimal point and some zeros and dividing it by 60. So how many 60s go into 8? That's 0 remainder 8. How many 60s go into 80? That's 1 remainder 20. How many 60s go into 20? Well, that's going to be, let's consider multiples of 60. 60, 120, 180. So it's going to be 3 remainder 20. Oh, 3 remainder 20, 3 remainder 20, and so on. So that'll be 1.333, and so on. Okay, next, if s is equal to 80, we'd have 80 divided by 80, that's equal to 1. And finally, if s is equal to 100, we'd have 80 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.8. So we've got our values, now let's plot them. So 20 across, 4 up, so 20 across, 4 up would be there. 40 across would be 2 up, so 40 across, 2 up would be there. Next, 60 across, 1.3 recurring up, so 60 across, 1. Now let's just check what we're going up in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going up in 0.1s. So it's going to be 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. There's 1.4. So 1.3 recurring would be about there somewhere. Okay, next, 80. Well, that's going to be 1. 80 across, 1 up. And finally, 100 was 0.8. So that's there. So we've plotted all our points. Now let's draw a nice curve through them. So it's going to look something like this. And that's it. So that's the graph of t equals 80 over s. t equals 80 divided by s. And that's it. Okay, so we've done part A. Part B says a journey takes 1.5 hours. Use the graph to estimate the speed of the car. So now again, just remember this curve was my attempt to do it on the computer. It's a bit tricky, but 1.5 hours would be here. So 1.5 hours would be there. So we get a ruler and a pencil, and we will go across using your ruler and pencil, and you go across to where it meets the graph, which is there, and then down. So then we'll go down, and that would be there. So let's read off what that speed would be. So we've got here, if we look at, let's look at the scale, we've got 20, which is in 10 squares. So 20 divided by 10 is 2. So it's going to be 42, 44, 46, 48, 50 in the middle, 52, 54. So that's 54 kilometers per hour. So 54 kilometers per hour. And that's it. Now, our answers may vary there slightly depending on our curve and how we've drawn it, but I've got 54 kilometers per hour. That's the speed of the car. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 8. So question number 8 says, Alyssa sketches the graph of y equals k over x, where k is a positive constant, so it could be 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that. And this is her sketch. And the question says, Alyssa's made a mistake. Explain her mistake. Well, if we have a look at this graph, well, we've got the curves in the right sort of areas. They should be up here and down there. But if you notice here, the graph actually touches the x-axis, and if you've got a number, a positive number divided by x, it'll never actually equal 0. There'll be something whenever you divide it by a big positive number. So this shouldn't actually touch the x-axis. There's a mistake there. It shouldn't actually touch the x-axis. So let's explain that. And that's it. I've just explained. The graph touches the x-axis, but the x-axis is an asymptote, so it shouldn't actually touch the x-axis. And that's it. So that's Alyssa's mistake. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 9. So question number 9, we've got some graphs. We've got graph A, graph B, graph C, and graph D. We've been asked to match each graph to the correct equation. So let's actually just have a look at the graphs and look at their shapes. So this looks like an x squared parabola. It looks like a y equals x squared graph. Okay, next one, graph B. This actually looks like an exponential growth graph. So it looks like something, for instance, in the form of y equals 5 to the power of x or something like that. This graph is a reciprocal graph. We've looked at graphs like this in this video so far. So this would be something over x. And this looks like a cubic graph where you've got x cubed, because obviously a negative times a negative times a negative is a negative, and a positive times a positive times a positive is a positive. So let's have a look at our options. So y equals x squared is graph A. So if we have a look at graph A, yep, that's our y equals x squared graph. Then we're asked to find which one is y equals x cubed. Well, y equals x cubed is going to be this graph here. This is y equals x cubed because it's our cubic graph. A negative times a negative times a negative is a negative. 0 cubed is 0, and a positive cubed is positive. So that's going to be graph D. Y equals 2 to the power of x is graph. Well, that's an exponential graph, y equals 2 to the power of x. So it's actually going to be this one here. This is y equals 2 to the power of x. Because 2 to the power of 0 is equal to 1, so that'll be 1 there. 2 to the power of 1 will be equal to 2. 2 squared is 4. 2 cubed is 8. And it gets very big very quickly, so it's exponentially growing. And here, if you had a negative power, such as 2 to the power of negative 1, that's equal to a half, and so on. So that's the exponential graph. So that's going to be graph B. And then that means if we get A, B, and D, this must be C. So this is the graph of y equals 1 over x. Y equals 1 over x. So this is the graph y equals 1 over x. And if we think back to our question earlier on where we had a sketch art graph with this one of y equals 1 over x, we had the same graph, the same shape, this reciprocal graph. So that's our reciprocal graph. Y equals 1 over x is graph C. And that's it. And that's it. So that's our answer, D, B, C. Okay, and let's look at our last question. So question number 10, we've been asked to complete the table of values for y equals 1 over x plus 1. So we're going to do 1 over x, and then we're going to add 1 to that answer. So we're going to do our table of values. Now, it's a calculator question, so you can actually type this in and create a table in your calculator. But let's actually work this out. So we've got, let's start off with 5. 1 divided by 5 is 0.2, plus 1 would be 1.2. Whenever x is equal to 2, we've got 1 divided by 2 is a half, or 0.5. Add 1 will be 1.5. When x is equal to 1, we'd have 1 divided by 1, which is 1, plus 1 is equal to 2. When we've got 1 divided by 0.5, that's equal to 2, plus 1 is equal to 3, and so on. So they're the positive values for x. Now let's have a look at our negative values for x. 1 divided by minus 0.5, well, that's going to be minus 2, plus 1 will be minus 1. 1 divided by minus 1 is minus 1, plus 1 is 0. 1 divided by minus 2 is going to be equal to minus 0.5, plus 1 will be 0.5. And finally, 1 divided by minus 5, well, that's going to be minus 0.2, plus 1 will be 0.8. Okay, so we've completed our table. Now let's plot our points in part B. Part B asks us to draw the graph. So let's plot the points. So 5, 1.2. So 5 would be there, 1.2. We've got 1. We're going up at 0.2, so that'll be there, 1.2. Our next one is 2, 1.5. So 2, 1.5, there's 1, there's 2, so 1.5 would be in the middle. Our next one is 1, 2, so 1 across 2 up, 1 across 2 up will be there. And then we've got 0.5, 3, so 0.5 across will be there in the middle, and 3 up will be there. So we've got those points there. Now if we have a look at the other side, we've got minus 0.5, minus 1, so minus 0.5 is there, minus 1 is there. Next, we've got minus 1, 0, so minus 1 across, 0 up, so that'll be there. Our next one is minus 2, 0.5, so minus 2 across, 0.5 up will be there. And then finally, we've got minus 5, 0.8. So minus 5 is there, 0.8 would be there. So we've plotted our points. Now we just need to do our curve through them. Now just one thing to notice here is we've got the y equals 1 over x graph plus 1. So that actually just shifts the graph 1 up. So before, our asymptotes were the x-axis and the y-axis. When we shift the graph up 1 square, what will happen is rather than the asymptote now being the x-axis, it'll be the line y equals 1. So it actually means that the asymptotes now will be the y-axis and the line y equals 1. So let's draw our curves through the points. And that's it, we've drawn our curves through those points. And as you can see, the graph doesn't cross the y-axis and it doesn't cross the line y equals 1. And that's it. And let's have a look, is there a part C? No, that's it. And that's it. So these have been the video solutions to the Corbettmaths Practice Questions on Reciprocal Graphs. I really hope you found this set of questions useful. I hope you found the answers useful as well. If you need any extra help on reciprocal graphs, if you go to Corbettmaths and go to the videos and worksheets section and scroll down to video number 346, there's a video tutorial there on reciprocal graphs. Alternatively, you can scan this QR code. But in this video, we'll focus on the video solutions to the practice questions. If you have found them useful, please like the video and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.